What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Panda and Superman, the mayor of Hype City, HazyRome, and as always, I'm joined by the Gotham Knight, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce. And today we're in the Hall of Spoilers to talk about Black Panther, everybody. We're talking about the top 5 characters from Black Panther. DeepBoyce.
Yes, sir.
Wakanda forever, man.
I know Disney's counting them zeros forever.
Forever, man. I mean, we saw it. We liked it. It was good. It was dope. We liked the cast of Black Panther. And I think that's what sort of is inspiring this top 5 video, because I don't know if there's been such a well-rounded cast in terms of like the focus that Marvel has put on like the individual characters and sort of the role that each of them played in the story. Marvel did a phenomenal job with that in Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean, the world, or I guess the country of Wakanda is literally a character in and of itself.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, T'Challa was out there battling his entire cast for some shine. I mean, everyone was like extremely interesting in this movie. And that's one of the I guess achievements that this movie has over other Marvel or other superhero films.
No, I agree.
So yeah,
I agree.
I mean, we liked it. I mean, we have a lot to talk about in terms of Black Panther, but I guess we wanted to kind of shine a spotlight on some of our favorite characters in this movie first.
Indeed, a kiss, man. I haven't seen a cast this well put together, and a cast that you know a lot of people were able to sort of get their piece of the pie since Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Guardians of the Galaxy, because that was novel and that it, introduced those characters for the first time and was able to sort of create this ensemble piece that was amazing. But DeepBoyce, man, number 5, top 5 Black Panther characters. We're starting off with the one and only Nakia, man, the love interest for Black Panther. Everybody, DeepBoyce, man, talk to me about this character. Talk to me about why we like this character, man. What's good with her?
She was smooth. She was smooth, and like she was one of the coolest, slyest characters in this movie. I mean, the role. I mean, again, spoilers. You shouldn't be watching this. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie. We're gonna be spoiling a lot of stuff that happens in the movie.
Thank you for that disclaimer at the Spectacular Spoiler League YouTube channel.
But she is I don't know. She's a spy for sure. I'm not sure if she's a Dora Milaje or used to be a Dora Milaje, but at the very least, she is T'Challa's ex-girlfriend.
She's definitely not a Dora Milaje, because she said that in the movie.
Okay.
Sheree passed her an outfit that was very stylized like the Dora Milaje, and she's like, I'm not one of them. And Sheree was like, just wear it. It got armor, girl. I don't want you to die. So she's definitely not a Dora Milaje, yeah, but she is a spy for Wakanda for sure.
She is. She's a spy for Wakanda, and honestly, she adds. I mean, Marvel movies, you always expect levity, and it usually comes by way of characters kind of joking around. But she added kind of this levity as one of the many characters where you're just like, I want to see more from this character. I want to see. Word. I want to know more about this character's backstory. I want to know more about these, secret agent missions she goes on. I mean, one of the things that people use to describe the Black Panther movie is that it has a little bit of James Bond in it. But honestly, I think Nakia was the most James Bond-ish character in this entire movie.
Woo! Yo, but that's interesting that you say that, because in many ways she was the one that was sort of, like for example, in the casino scene, she's the one who got them in the casino. Yeah. She was the one sort of that had this secretive nature about her. T'Challa was like, come home, stay in Wakanda here. And she's sort of like, listen, I've got work to do out there. Yeah. Like, this country needs me, but these people, that the people of Africa need me as well. And, her whole thing was like, yes, I love Wakanda, but I love the people and I love what my mission is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I'm going to let you continue, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, she, like, almost they frame it in a way where I guess they think she doesn't take her role seriously as a Wakandan, as someone that is important within the royalty, because they want her to really kind of, really kind of take control of the traditional values that Wakanda has, and the traditional role that she should be serving. But like you said, she's a little, I guess, progressive, and that's really one of the things that I guess her input, I guess, motivates T'Challa to see reason into bringing Wakanda into a new age where, I mean, you see early on that she's worried about her fellow African, you know, the people from neighboring countries and the people that are going through some very difficult times. And she serves to remind them, I mean, listen, there's more than just us. There's more than just these traditions we've held for thousands of years. Yeah, they make us strong, but they also make us very rigid. And rigidity is also weakness.
No, that's a man. That was really well said, man. Like, seriously, I mean, the idea that Nakia is such a progressive character for Wakanda and what she wants for the Wakandan people and for the African people at large, and you might even say for the Black people in the world, in the MCU world. And you know, to shift things over to something else that it was interesting about her, in contrast to another character who's going to come up, is her love not necessarily for Wakanda, but also for T'Challa. Yeah. And you know, in this movie, once again, super duper spoiler alert, you know, Killmonger takes over, and another character, Okoye, has the idea that she needs to remain loyal to the king of Wakanda, whoever it may be. Yeah. And, you know, she's not about that. No. You know what I'm saying? She's not about that, man. She is, I mean, she's not playing with this dude Killmonger. She's like, I love T'Challa. You may love Wakanda, Okoye, but I love T'Challa. And that means I'm going to do what I need to do in order to protect him and the throne that he'd want me to protect. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a really powerful thing for her character, in contrast to, you know, characters like Okoye, man. But DeepBoyce, man, on to number 4. Fantastic segue I just gave you, DeepBoyce. Don't mess it up, DeepBoyce. Who's that number 4?
Number 4
Black Panther characters, man,
is the general of the Dora Milaje, and that's Okoye, played by Danai Gurira, who kind of, you know, had a reputation already preceding her as Michonne in The Walking Dead already. You know, she's, I guess, 2 for 2 at least for playing some badass characters. I mean, she was whooping that ass in this movie. You talk about another character where you're just like, can I see more? And we're going to see more in Infinity War. We see shots of her running, you know, face first into combat, into battle. But I mean, it's really hard to, like, if you had a video or a conversation about who are the best combatants in Wakanda. I mean, the Black Panther is obviously a beast, but there are so many other characters that are just like, wow, these people can really hold their own. I mean, you cannot mess with any of these. And Okoye is a perfect example of it, of being, I guess, the perfect example of the kind-hearted warrior, like just warrior through and through. Who's, I saw her as probably the most level-headed character in the entire movie. The one, I mean, she's a very important pillar for all of these characters and for the society that Wakanda currently is. For her king, for her fellow Dora Milaje, for her countrymen and women. I mean, honestly, she's integral to the success that you see for Wakanda in this movie and into the future.
Definitely, man. I mean, the thing about Okoye that I think really stood out to me was the fact that she was no nonsense. Yeah. She was very much adherent to her code and who she is as a Dora Milaje. I mean, and that was something I feel that, I mean, they definitely changed certain things from, you know, the current source material for that character. Yeah. But the one thing I felt like remained the same was how strong of a character is, how strong her will is. You know, when she's in the when she's in a situation that she feels requires her to behave the way a general should, the way a warrior should, she doesn't want anything to take away from that. Like, even the idea that she didn't want to wear a wig to go to the casino because she was like, this is unfitting of a Dora Milaje, because, you know, the Dora Milaje are traditionally bald. Yeah. So she wore that with honor. And you know, it was even funnier when she snatched her wig off and threw it at this dude when she was fighting him. I was just dying because I was just like, that's just.
I mean, that's a good tactic. If somebody throws the wig at you in the middle of a fight, it's like, oh damn,
word,
I'm off. I don't know what to do.
First of all, like, I don't want that on my face, man. Like, you know, it's your head sweating and all that. I don't want all that. Come on now.
One of the things that I really liked and appreciate is, I mean, usually these types of characters fall under a certain type of archetype.
Yeah.
Where they're just like too stiff and they're just like, you can't really relate, or it's just like, man, why are you being such a party pooper? But I never felt that way about this character at all.
Yes.
I was like,
yes.
I really like this character. Like, this character is, again, reasonable through and through. And most of the characters in this movie have moments where they change or they learn or they see that the situation isn't what they thought it used to be. And obviously you get that from Okoye, where she sees that, yes, I mean, she's willing to die for her country, for her traditions, but she sees the value in T'Challa that, you know, no other ruler has, and especially Killmonger, is that he has heart. Like, he loves his people. He loves her. He loves the kid. He loves his family. He has love for other people out there, and he was willing to sacrifice his life. Meanwhile, Killmonger is willing to sacrifice others' lives to, you know, push his means and his goals.
His agenda. Yeah.
His agenda,
yeah. I mean, the thing about Okoye that, you know, in keeping with her being so iron-willed, I mean, during the trial by combat, or the I guess the ultimate battle for kingship, for the throne, between Killmonger and T'Challa, in that moment where Killmonger is whooping his ass, it was interesting to see her like tearing up, like she was about to cry, and there was another Dora Milaje said to her, "Is there anything we could do?" And she just stood there because she knows my role is not to interfere in this. I would love to, because I hate this Killmonger guy and I love T'Challa, but that is not what my nation needs me to be. Now, later on, when T'Challa makes his comeback and she sees him in the distance, and the trial by combat, it was thought that T'Challa was dead and Killmonger won. You may think to yourself, all right, well, Okoye was like, oh, I'm going to be loyal to T'Challa, and I'm going to stand up to Killmonger now since I see him here. But really and truly, she was still holding to the tradition of Wakanda, because she stated, listen, the trial by combat did not end in death, nor did it end in T'Challa surrendering. So really and truly, the trial by combat has not ended yet. If anything, T'Challa is still king.
Yeah.
So that's what sort of made her stand up to Killmonger. Yes, it's definitely what she wanted to do, because she hated Killmonger. Let's not get it twisted. Yeah. But it was still in keeping with her character as this Wakandan general who is by the book, by the rules. It just so happened to align with what she wanted. Let's also add into the fact that, and this wasn't particularly highlighted, like it was told to us at the beginning, but it wasn't highlighted throughout the movie. But then at the end, you realize that her sort of disagreement with Wakabi, or as we like to call him, Wasabi. Your boy Wasabi out here. I mean, he was a good character too, but that's her husband, and she's 100% for T'Challa, but he's backing he's Killmonger's right hand man, for lack of a better word for him. And it comes to a situation where she has to battle him, and she's not like, she does give him the opportunity to yield, and he ultimately does, but she wasn't backing down from that. Because she's like, I'll kill you if it comes down to you or my country, I'm picking my country. Yeah. And I just thought that was such an amazing move for Okoye, man. I thought that was a great arc for her throughout this movie, man. But DeepBoyce, man, let's shift on over to number 3.
All right.
Number 3, we're going to talk about the newest Disney princess, everybody. I mean, Shuri, to me, was intelligent. She was, her ingenuity in the movie shown throughout, with her essentially being the one to push Wakanda into the future. The fact that she was humorous in a way, sometimes they introduce like a little sister into a show, or a little sibling into a show or a movie, and that sibling is a pain in the rear. You're just like, can we just not focus on the sibling? But Shuri, I never felt that way with her. She was likable. Like when she was cutting on her brother, it felt like they really had a true relationship. I mean, the scene where he tests out the suit, the new Black Panther suit, and she essentially uses the new ability of the suit to let out some kinetic energy. She tricks T'Challa into hitting it, and thus, you know, knocking him over and taking video footage of it because she's his sister.
Yeah.
I just felt like that relationship was organic to not just the movie and necessary to the movie, but also necessary to the actual relationship in the comics between T'Challa and Shuri. They have a very, very close relationship. Yeah. You know what I mean? A very, very close relationship. She's actually gone on to be Black Panther in her own right.
Yeah.
And I think that to sort of lay out the foundation for Shuri to be so well played and portrayed by Letitia Wright. By the way, shout outs to Lupita Nyong'o as well. We didn't shout her out at number 5, but shout outs to her as well. But you know, Letitia Wright playing this character so well, it sets the tone for what the future of Wakanda is, and also the future of the MCU. Yeah. She's about the same age as Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Like, she is going to be the future. Like, she's already like one of the smartest people in the MCU. And I think that's a really big step and for the MCU and for this character to take. You know what I mean? But what do you think about it, man?
Yeah, I mean, you put it very well. I mean, this, if you talk about the future of the MCU, not just of the Black Panther franchise or movies, Shuri is definitely one of those characters that we should be seeing a lot of post Phase 4. A character that has just a ton of potential, just a ton to add to a movie, to her own movie, to a Black Panther movie, to a Spider-Man movie, to any other movie, an Avengers movie. She could easily be a member of the Avengers as well. Shuri is definitely a character that, again, has just a tremendous amount of personality and character, and a character who definitely set her own little space in the MCU in the bit that she was in this movie. I mean, she was a prominent character in this movie, but again, we're probably going to keep saying this with a lot of the other characters. Want to see more. I want to see more of this character. She's definitely cool and stylish, and she's definitely unlike anything that we've seen thus far in any of these movies. And it'll be interesting to see if she dons her own suit. I mean, we saw her with the greaves or the van braces that shoot out sonic energy, you know, just as a start.
Gauntlets or whatever they were.
They're like gauntlets that shoot out sonic energy. I mean, the potential is just limitless. And the fact that she was the Q to T'Challa's James Bond, she was the tech genius, the tech expert, was played off very well. And like you said, just that relationship, that back and forth between her and her brother, adds, it actually not just works for her, but it adds to the Black Panther character, who's generally more of a serious kind of character.
Yeah.
And you know, just seeing him be a little bit more, I guess, quote unquote, human in that sense, with his family, added something that you didn't quite expect. And also, if someone would have told you, you probably would have thought, you know, maybe it might not play off too well, because this is supposed to be the Black Panther. This guy's, you know, right, he's a badass, but it worked in a very believable and interesting way.
Yeah, and you know, just to cap things off, I mean, the idea that she's the future of the MCU, you know, something I mentioned before, and you know, just even her attitude towards certain traditions, like, you know, during the initial ceremony of you know, coronation for T'Challa, she raises her hand. She's like, "Yo, I'm not trying to challenge T'Challa like you guys think I am because I raised my hand, but I just want to get out of this freaking corset. Like, so can we hurry this thing up?" Like, she continually makes jabs at the current tradition, and you know, ultimately at the end of the movie, we know T'Challa sort of puts her in charge of Wakandan outreach, essentially for the youth. And I think that, you know, one thing that we see Tony Stark do, you know, in the MCU, like take a movie like Civil War. We see him talking to the students at MIT, and you know, he offers them, you know, scholarships to work on their grants and things. And you know, Shuri can be that character for the future of the MCU. She can be that person who sort of ushers Wakandan innovation and Wakandan influence into the world. And I think that's a huge part of the future of the MCU. And also, keep in mind, there's characters like Spider-Man. I could completely see Spider-Man getting a suit that has some vibranium laced into it, you know, because that's a little bit more of the iron. Like, the Iron Spidey suit is nice, but like, and I like it. It's probably one of my favorite suits of all time, at least the one he's rocking.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit ostentatious for the young Peter Parker. You know what I'm saying? I can see him doing something a little bit more traditional, just with some vibranium weave, man.
Real talk. As you say that, I was thinking to myself, just like we saw with Captain America get his own little Wakandan like shield sort of thing that he wears in Infinity War. Imagine if some characters, at least on the Wakandan front in Infinity War, get like a Wakandan remix to their outfits. You know, maybe get their own like, Shuri makes some special outfits for everybody or something. Obviously, because you got vibranium, it's a little bit more durable, it's lighter, more powerful. But
once again,
you mentioned Peter Parker, a character that has tons of costumes. It would definitely be dope if, at least for part of the movie, he's rocking something that Shuri is like, oh, I got a special delivery for you. Yeah.
I mean, once again, another parallel to Tony Stark in Age of Ultron in particular, right? You see, Tony Stark has given upgrades to like everybody's, essentially everybody's attire. Captain America now has like this thing that makes his shield come back to his wrist. Black Widow certainly has some Tony Stark tech in her suit. You know what I mean? So like you see that happening at the end of Spider-Man: Homecoming, or sort of like the beginning of the final act. When they're moving Avengers facility, you hear Happy talk about a new equipment for Thor. You know what I mean? Like that's what Tony Stark does. So imagine if, like you said, maybe Shuri starts doing that for the Avengers or the future MCU characters. That would be freaking sick, man. I'd take that, man. But on to number 2, man. DeepBoyce. Who do we have?
Number 2. Throwing everybody for a swerve. It's the King of Wakanda, T'Challa, at number 2. Then I think you guys already know who we're siding with on this one.
A little bit of an upset here, man.
A little bit.
T'Challa at number 2, man.
A little bit of an upset. I mean, it's what honestly can you say about this character that hasn't already been said? I mean, he kind of windmill kicked his way into everybody's just hearts, I guess, in the Civil War movie, where he was one of the standout characters.
Yeah, he whooped everybody's ass.
Yeah.
He definitely did whoop everybody's ass that he wanted to whoop ass about. You know what I'm saying?
And now, obviously, this is his movie. This is his time to shine. And it's his journey. It seems like it takes, I don't know what the period of time is, but it's rather soon after the events of Civil War, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's just thrown right into it, and he has to, get over the craziness of that movie. And then come back to even more craziness, which is he has to take up the mantle for his father. He has to be the man in the house, so to speak, for his I guess it's stepmother in the comics. I don't know if that's technically his biological mother in the movie.
I think he just calls her mother, so I assume it's his biological mom in the movie.
But
they don't.
Yeah. No, but he has to be there for his family. He has to be there for his kingdom. And more importantly, he has to think about the future of his country. And then on top of that, you've got Claw coming in, and there are reports of Claw out here causing some trouble, causing some ruckus. And of course, T'Challa's number one nemesis makes his appearance in this movie as well. So T'Challa kind of has his hands full. But as we mentioned a little bit in some of the previous entries, you see multiple sides of this character in this movie, and not only that, but you see him, I guess, grow in a rather natural way. You see him, in a way you can relate to him. I mean, he's not the only character. I don't want to say too much about our next entry in the list, but there are things about him that you can relate, that you can see. You can really see where he's coming from. And how, he's required in a way to make sacrifices. But then again, he may have to sacrifice tradition in order to do what's right. And then there's that kind of inner conflict you see within him in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, as Black Panther, I mean, this man has to balance being, a hero, right? He is a king. He's also a politician, and king and politician, those may be, those are relatable things, obviously. But the difference between the king side is that he's trying to run a country, but the politician side is he has to figure out how he's going to navigate the political situations, not just in this country, but now in the world. Now he also has to be you know, in the movie, he's also has to be a loving son who has this idea of his father as the perfect king. And it's a wonderful freaking continuation of the arc in Civil War where, you know, his Baba, you know, his father, they're very close, and he clearly looks up to him in a very deep and emotional way, obviously. And the idea that his father essentially has this secret that he discovers, you know, in the wake of his death, that his father not only killed his own brother, you know, T'Challa's uncle, but also left T'Challa's cousin, you know, the son of T'Chaka's brother, in the United States, fatherless. You know, and this boy grows up to be Killmonger, who now is a thorn in T'Challa's side. And the emotional resonance of that is that T'Challa doesn't believe he's ready to be king. Yeah. He doesn't believe he can be as good as a king as his father is. And then he realizes his father did this very
uncharacteristic thing.
Uncharacteristic thing. You know, it creates a cognitive dissonance where it conflicts so deeply with the person you know that it makes you question like what you think is the right thing to do, because you're like, I want to be T'Chaka. I want to be the Black Panther, the king T'Chaka was. And I see him do this. It's like, this is the man that's supposed to be showing me the way. Yeah. It just makes T'Challa doubly lost. And I love the struggle of his character in that respect. I love the fact that he had to come to terms with that. And, you know, once again, in keeping with the arc from Civil War. In Civil War, he was hunting the hell out of Zemo. He wanted him dead. He's like, yo, you killed my father.
Yeah.
But then at the end, he's like, yo, vengeance. He learns, unlike Tony Stark, he learns vengeance isn't the way. And, you know, in the end of this movie, when he's fighting Killmonger, he ultimately does, you know, kill him to stop him or stab him to stop him. But he says to him, listen, I could save your life. We could try and save your life. You know, and we're going to talk more about Killmonger and, you know, sort of his reaction to that offer in a second. But the idea of T'Challa being exactly what T'Chaka said he was. Listen, you're a good man. You're a good man. And we see that from T'Challa throughout this movie. But it's hard for a good man to be king. And you see him deal with that struggle to be king and do the right thing for his country. I mean, that's just a character, you know, that's a thing that his character has to deal with on a personal front. Yeah. But then you introduce the idea that his country's like, yo, you got people that are like, yo, we need to be out there helping people. There's people that are, you know, are whispering in his ear about that. Then you have, you know, people whispering in his ear about, listen, we could rule the world.
Yeah.
That's the best way to help people. We can go out there and conquer people.
And let's not
I'd rather be the conqueror than the conquered.
Yeah, and let's not forget that he has to appease the various tribes of his very own country. He doesn't want a civil war, any type of dissent, right. Because as a king, you have to not only appease the people, but you have to kind of appease the nobles as well. Sure.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we'll see in future installments, but in this one, it was kind of more about what does it mean to be king in 2018? What does it mean to be king in the Marvel universe? What does it mean? Because eventually he's gonna, you know, this is something that happens in the comics where people are like, are you an Avenger or are you our king?
Exactly. Especially as we transition into, you know, the end of Phase 3 and the beginning of Phase 4, it's very evident that, you know, Black Panther is going to be a prominent character on the Avengers scene. That's something that's going to come up. It's where's your allegiance? Is it with the people out there or the people here? Because, you know, another aspect of that you know, that sort of conflicting will that's coming towards him from everyone else is the idea of, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Wakanda's been fine the way it is this whole time. We don't need to go out there and conquer people. We don't need to expand our empire. We also don't need to go out there and help people and give people, you know, our resources. We've been fine just as it is. So why change it? And with him stepping out, he ultimately does make the decision to step out, which is something that, once again, his father actually started in Civil War. You know, we do see him continue that idea of, you know, changing the legacy of Wakanda. You know, the people at that meeting, that conference at the end of the movie, they didn't get that Wakanda wasn't this third world country. Yeah. And that, you know, that's going to change. That's going to change, man. You know, and I don't know if you have anything else to say about T'Challa, because I'm sort of stepping into Killmonger territory mentally, but I really loved the Black Panther in this movie. I really loved T'Challa in this movie. And to be honest with you, he's quickly catapulted to one of my favorite heroes in the MCU just because of how much he had to juggle in this movie and the way he handled it ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the overall message was that he saw his country did things or was doing things presently out of fear, when he wanted to do things, as corny as it sounds, out of love, out of a place of love.
Absolutely.
And they aren't doing things to help others or to maybe even advance their own situation because they're fearful. They're talking about, we don't, like you said, we don't want to be conquered. We want to be the conquerors. It's one of the two. And we want to be on one side, the positive side for us. And T'Challa said, you know what, there's a third option.
Sure.
It's my option.
Yeah. Also the struggle with the idea of colonialism. Like, he knows very well, what the Europeans, what the white man, has done to Africa. And he doesn't, not only does he not want that to happen to Wakanda, he doesn't want to be that to others. Yeah. He doesn't want to go in there and be like, yo, we're Wakanda, we got weapons, we got this, we got that, we running shit now. He doesn't want to be that. And I just, the push and pull that he had to go through, like, I don't know if I could have made the decisions that he had to make in this movie. I don't know if I could have done that. You know what I mean? And that, once again, stepping into Killmonger territory, it's
might as well
tough.
Just get into it.
yeah. I mean, yeah, let's get into it. But, it's tough when you have these conflicting, directions that you can go, and you have people in your face telling you what you should do, and you yourself don't know what you should do, and you're trying to please everybody. You're trying to do the best thing, not just for yourself, but for the people around you. That being said, DeepBoyce at number 1 on this list of top 5 characters from Black Panther, we've got the one and only
Human Torch.
Eric. That movie was basura. Okay, that movie was some boo poo, man, some bull, son. Shout outs to Eric Stevens, aka Killmonger, aka the best villain the MCU has seen in a very long time.
Oof.
Very long time. He is an absolutely fantastic villain who, to be honest, you may not agree with his methods, but it's hard to argue with his message.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with his message. And one thing that I thought about when I sort of, heard the things he said, and him growing up in Oakland, California, knowing that there's this El Dorado, this fairy tale land, as he describes in the movie, out there that can help Black people, that can help, that can help kids like him growing up in Oakland, living a hard life, and they're just sitting on that wealth, closed off. That would, imagine if something like that happened today. Imagine if the Black community, people of color, found out that there was a nation out there like that. Not even just the Black community, just any struggling minority or any a disadvantaged minority group. And they found out there was a nation like that could reasonably actually reach out and affect them and change their situation, or at least help them, enrich their future. And that nation did nothing. That would enrage a lot of people. And I felt Killmonger's anger. I understood it.
Yeah. Even T'Challa understood it. Because T'Challa at one point was like, I can't say no to that.
Right. T'Challa came up to his father and was like, how could you do this? Yeah. You created this. How could you do something like that? And that to me was a beautiful thing on Killmonger's end. You know what I mean? I felt that the character, him saying that, I since I was born, this is what I was made to do. Him essentially being, he's a prince of Wakanda.
Yes.
And he felt that it was his birthright. And it was taken away from him. His father was killed in cold blood, is what he believes. Yes, his father was a traitor, but T'Chaka really did leave the boy there, knowing that that's his nephew. And I felt that Killmonger also, let's not forget, everybody, Killmonger's like insanely intelligent by how they described his background. He attended Annapolis, right, which is a renowned military academy. MIT, I mean, sort of the best. That's one of the best schools in the country.
Yeah.
You know, in our world and in the MCU, Tony Stark went to MIT.
He did.
And graduated from MIT. You know, so and then you know, you find out about his military background and how, you know, each one of those bumps on his skin, I'm pretty sure represents a kill.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he's killed a lot of people. This guy is, in a way, while T'Challa was being groomed in Wakanda, in, you know, his safe, comfy fairyland to be king, Killmonger was out in the world training to be king, to come in and take over and show Wakanda the way. And I felt that his conviction to that effect was compelling. It was compelling, man.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Killmonger was the living embodiment of Wakanda's hubris. Because King T'Chaka decided to not bring in the child to save face and to keep secrecy.
Yeah,
it turned into something that almost destroyed the entire country and even the entire world, the balance of society as we know it. Came back and you know, like you said, I mean, preaching a message that was hard to argue. But I think ultimately where he went wrong was, I guess, his feelings behind it. You know, it was anger.
Too angry.
Yeah, too angry. And I think it was T'Challa in like the end credit sequence. Man, I wish I had written down the quote, but he said something to the effect of nations during war, the nations that succeed during war build bridges, not destroy them.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, you know, that's really the difference between him and Killmonger, and the reason why T'Challa was ultimately successful and his vision will ultimately be successful. Because, I mean, listen, they don't know this. They don't have the foresight that we do. But in like about 3 months or so, there's a big purple guy coming out from space. And the last thing the people on Earth need is to be fighting each other, to be conquered by Eric Killmonger when Thanos kind of comes in and starts wrecking it. I mean, everyone needs to be united. And kind of Killmonger, you know, he had this air about him about revenge, and you know, I think it was just much too late to kind of enact that revenge. It would just serve to open old wounds as opposed to, you know, provide further healing. And that's kind of what Killmonger needed, unfortunately. And it kind of makes it bittersweet, the ending of the movie, because Killmonger just kind of needed his family. He needed his father. He needed love. He needed to be shown that, you know, this isn't the projects in Oakland. That's not what life is all about. You know, there's more to life, and he does deserve more. But like you said, I mean, he had this. He was born for it, and he was going to take it by any means necessary.
Yeah,
his birthright.
Yeah. I mean, just to I looked up the quote real quick while you were talking that T'Challa said, because I wanted to make sure we had that in this, you know, this conversation.
Yeah.
Fools build barriers. The wise build bridges.
There we go.
And, you know, Killmonger, he definitely wasn't trying to build barriers, but his bridges were a little, like, he was trying to build bridges, but he was trying to send tanks over those bridges to, you know, to show the world who Wakanda is, what Wakanda is.
Kind of taught Everett Ross a lesson there too. Where Everett Ross is, I mean, at some point Everett Ross is like, yo, he's one of ours. But then, you know, Everett Ross is thinking, you know, he's explaining to them, he's like, oh, this is what he does. He goes into country and he destabilizes them. Yeah. And Everett Ross is like, wait a second. He's going to come to my country and destabilize it, as well as other countries in the world. And it's like, we're about to actually feel some of the heat that we've been dishing out for quite some time.
Well said, man. Well freaking said. And to tie that into Killmonger's character as well, you know, you brought up his end. You know, his death, and you know, I'm going to talk about that in a different light in a second. But the interesting thing about his death was that, you know, T'Challa offered to potentially save him, to potentially you know, heal him if possible, and he said, nah. To you know, why would I do that? To be a prisoner so you can hold me captive? You know, he's like, nah, I'd rather go out like my ancestors did, who jumped off the slave ships because they knew death was better than bondage.
Yeah.
And I was just like, as a black man, I was like, wow, that was a powerful statement. Because he's not wrong. He's not wrong in that respect. And I just felt that it was I'm not sure that there's been an impactful death like that from an MCU villain. We sort of generally don't like when the MCU kills villains, because we love, for especially good villains, obviously.
Yeah.
We love them to stick around and have further character development, like what we've seen with, you know, Loki, who is, you know, very much, I would say, by many people considered one of the best MCU villains. Mm-hmm. And I normally wouldn't want to see a villain die, and I still am a little sad to see Killmonger go because he was phenomenal. But I'm like, how are you going to argue with that? Like, I'm not going to go, I can't go up to Ryan Coogler, the director of this movie, and be like, yo, Ryan Coogler, that was not the right line. Because I'm like, yo, that is completely in keeping with his character. Yeah. That's who he is. And to a certain extent, you might say, well, you know, on the flip side, you could have made it so that his character was like, yo, nah, I'll live to fight another day. Yeah, I'll be in bondage, but I'll wait for my chance to complete my dream. But it goes back to this idea of him being so hurt and angry. One of the things he experiences right before he dies is the beautiful sunset of Wakanda. Yeah. He finally understood what his father was saying about Wakanda being such a beautiful place. And he understood in that moment of being angry for so long and sort of feeling like everything was taken away from him, he would have taken away that beautiful picture of Wakanda if he would have continued with his actions. He would have taken away what Wakanda is, as opposed to, you know, T'Challa doing that a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And, you know, once again, he chose not to be in bondage. He chose to free himself, not just of, you know, of being in bondage, but of the emotional weight that he's held for so long. And this mission that he felt was absolutely positively necessary. And that was a beautiful, like, I ain't gonna front, brother. When I was watching that, I was like, yo, somebody in this theater's cutting some onions, man, because I was like, I had to do like the triple blink where, you know, you're about to tear up and you're like, I was like, you know, that stung. That stung. And to me, that was sort of the beauty of this character. And yeah, he did some grimy things, like, you know, he shot his girlfriend and stuff. But, you know, but that once again shows his dedication to what he was trying to do. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, like, you're in the way right now, and what I'm doing is way more important. But that sort of shows like where, once again, the anger. Like, yo, I'm willing to let bodies drop. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like, oh, I'm king. All of this is mine. I make decisions I want. If I tell you to go out there, you go out there. If I tell you to risk your life, you're gonna risk your life. Why? Because my mission, my vision is more important. Because y'all are too short-sighted to see it, but I see it. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. It was also a beautiful thing. We talked about this after the movie, how, you know, when he was when he took the heart-shaped herb, mm-hmm. and he had his vision, or his visit with his father, mm-hmm. like where he wasn't in, you know, this beautiful Wakandan field, you know, where there's panthers laying on trees, and like T'Challa was. He was in that apartment complex in Oakland. Yeah. And it just showed like his humble beginnings and how he's always stayed true to that. Even, you know, during that sequence, him appearing to be as a child, as opposed to, you know, T'Challa going as his, you know, his current, you know, self, as his current body. You know, there were moments where he had the appearance of how he looked when he was a kid. Because he never, that anger that started from that began fostering in the moment where he found his father dead, he's always been that kid. Yeah. And I was like, damn, like that's a masterful way to put this character together, man. Yeah. Masterful way to put the character together.
And another thing I kind of took away from it, he kind of is emblematic of, like, he's a message that there is a lot of potential in people. I'll just say specifically Absolutely. Black people. There's a lot of potential in black people. I mean, he came from nothing and was able to almost take over the most advanced nation in the world.
If it wasn't for his hubris, he probably would, because he could have just killed T'Challa instead of throwing him off the waterfall. Because T'Challa got on.
Ultimately, it was his undoing was, I guess, his intentions.
Yeah.
And it was, and you know, kind of what I take away from it is you know, a bit sad, because he definitely, I mean, imagine the two of them together, how much they could do. I mean, T'Challa and Killmonger fighting alongside. I don't think anyone could defeat that duo.
No, that would have been strong, and I think T'Challa to a certain extent recognized that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just and all that potential is unfortunately gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
but he definitely, like you said, one of the best MCU villains, one of the best superhero movie villains ever. Definitely a character that we'll keep referencing and talking about whenever we look at other villains and or other movies in general. You know, kind of just the way that he kind of went out on top almost.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. That being said, everybody, what did you think of our top 5 characters from Black Panther? Let us know what you thought of the movie. Let us know if you agreed or disagreed with anything we said. And by all means, support the Spectacular Spoiler League by hitting that subscribe button and joining the Spectacular Spoiler League cause. Hit that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you can be up to date with the latest and greatest coming from the Spectacular Spoiler League. Also, drop a like on this vid. Help this video get out there. And everybody, Wakanda forever. Peace out.